Hello there, Quicksilver Slash, and today I have a World of Warships review of the brand new Tier 7 German premium battleship, the Scharnhorst. So, what do I think of it? Initial impressions, I really like it. It's kind of a ship built to the way I play battleships, so I feel I've done pretty well in it so far. But how does it stack up against her competition? So a quick look at survivability, she has 56,300 hit points, which is, I'd say, a little low considering the Nagato, another tier 7, the Japanese, is 65,000, and the Gneisenau, the upcoming German tier 7 battleship and sister ship of the Scharnhorst, has 58,200, with the Colorado at the bottom of the basement with only 50,100 with a fully upgraded hull. So overall, she's not too bad off, definitely better than the Colorado, but leaves a little to be desired. Her armor is, I'd say, good. In every game I've played, it's been adequate. As long as I'm not giving a broadside, it is bouncing everything, and you can see the Citadel 80 to 350 millimeters. The forward and aft ends are a little thin, but she's got that pointed bow, so if you're bow on, you're going to be deflecting a lot. The guns are 45 to 350, and the deck is 80 to 95. But little to be desired with the torpedo protection, only 24%, but looking at all the German ships, they kind of all run about that numbers. It's really the Japanese are the only ones who break the 30s. So now moving on to what makes her rather unique, and it is these main battery guns. She's got three triple-barreled 283 millimeter guns, which are definitely the smallest of her class. Her sister ship, the one that will be in the tech tree when 5.10 comes out, has 380 mils. The Colorado has 406 millimeters, and the Nagato has 410 millimeters. So what does that mean? Well, the Gneisenau, her guns can be a little underperforming at times. If you get the flat broadside of a cruiser, you're going to make her pay because the reload is much better than other battleships at 20 seconds. The guns are responsive, 22.8 second, 180, and the shell velocity is quite high at 890 meters per second. That puts her above the shell velocity of something like the North Carolina, which I reviewed recently and commended for having a very flat shell trajectory. And her guns also shoot really far at 19.9 kilometers, plus you can boost that with a spotting plane. Comparatively, the Nagato can shoot 20.5, the Gneisenau can shoot 19.5, and the Colorado is once again kind of left wanting at 16.7. And I know I mentioned that in the North Carolina review, is the Colorado just really hurts. Tier for tier, she struggles, and a big part is you don't have the flexibility to really boost the things she's good at because you have to pick up that fire control module for the increased range. And then the final thing that you kind of end up really hurting on is dispersion. 261 meter maximum dispersion, that is worst in tier. The Colorado tops all the ships at 211, the Nagato 231 meters, and the Gneisenau at 257. So combined with the low penetration because of smaller caliber, and in a lot of cases, like, you don't have shell large enough to overmatch cruiser armor, so it just ricochets, and you'll see a lot of ricochets if you drive this ship. Combine that with the worst aim in the tier, and this ship can troll you a little. You know, you think you have the perfect broadside, you fire, and like one shell hits, and it's an overpen or bounces. But what she does have is a slew of secondaries. She has 7 of these twin-barreled dual-purpose guns. She has 4 of these bigger single-barreled 150 millimeters, and then another 4 of these twin-barreled turrets. And looking at the German tree, that is pretty standard for them. They like their secondaries, And as such, I've been building mine to boost them, pushing them all out to 6 kilometers, and that's without advanced fire training. So one of the things that does make her unique at her tier, and I do not know if the dice now has them or not because I have not seen the ship yet, is the torpedoes. I suspect both will. It's a little added bonus. You get in close to an enemy battleship, you know, getting a little brawly, you can throw those torpedoes off and you're gonna do damage, average of 13,700 and pretty quick speed at 64 knots. They're a little difficult to dodge, and if you're in a battleship and you get 6k away, if they're not already turning, you're gonna get hits in, and that really just helps bolster this ship, much like the same way the torps can help the turpets become an excellent brawling ship. So moving on to her AA, she's fairly well equipped with a 52. It definitely puts her above the Nagato, but that's another place the Colorado shines at tier 7 is her AA is, it's amazing. At tier, fully upgraded, you barely even have to worry about equal tier aircraft coming at you because you'll just mow them all down. But a 52 is respectable, and once again, using basic fire training and advanced fire training, you can start to boost those ranges and start to increase that to a little more respectable of a number. What is one of the nice now's kind of defining features is her maneuverability. The maximum speed of 30 knots, she is the second fastest ship at her tier, the Nice now being the only one faster than the Scharnhorst. The Colorado does 21 and the Nagato does 25. So if you end up in a situation where you're fighting a Nagato or Colorado, you're able to use your maneuverability to outplay them, maintain range, because the Colorado you only have to stay 16.7 away and you can fire at her without threat of being caught or getting shot back at from the Colorado. Turning circles 800 meters and rudder shift time 11.6, and I do have the rudder shift module because anything to speed up, you know, kind of a brawling battleship like this where you're hunting cruisers, anything to speed that rudder up and help you dodge torpedoes is absolutely vital. And concealment, not really a battleship thing, but 15.2, 12.4. So now we'll move on to how I have it equipped. And you can see only get 4 options, and I've gone with main battery 1 because you can't really afford to lose those turrets, especially when you're doing that nose-on fighting. Just like the North Carolina, most of your gun power's in the front. You're going to be nose-in a lot. You don't want to be losing those. I've got secondary battery modification number 2 to boost my secondary range, and by now anyone who's watched my videos should pretty much know that in almost all my ships I've pushed for secondaries because I like what they do for me. I've got damage control 1 now. The ship came in the package I got with propulsion mod 1, and I'd rather have that reduced fire and flood chance than the engine being a little better. And then finally I have steering gear mod 2 to speed up that rudder shift and get all them torpedo beats. For my captain, I've started a new one off when I got the ship because I need a couple for the German line when they come out. I'm sure I'm going to hold on to more than one ship, so I'll have someone to drop in. So tier 1, I've gone with basic fire training to boost the secondaries and AA. Tier 2, expert marksman to just further speed up already very responsive turrets. Tier 3, superintendent, really feel that's where it's at. Gets you more heals in conjunction with the premium and consumable. That's 5 repair parties, which is pretty significant. Tier 4, probably going to go for advanced fire training because look at that, it pushes my AA rating up by 10 and it's going to push those secondaries out to almost 8 kilometers. Actually, I think a little over 8, like 8.2, which will be amazing. And then at tier 5, I'm probably going to go for manual fire control, but tier 5 is a long way off. Once I get that advanced fire training, I'm going to start backfilling with the ship survivability skills to just make her a little tankier and better at brawling. So one of the overall answers I'm going to try to address by the end of this review is, do I think she's worth the money? Currently I believe it is $40 for just the ship, 45 US dollars if you get the ship with the modifications, or 90 I think it is with a special flag and a bunch of doubloons and stuff. I got the one that came with the additional modules, which worked out to just over 60 Canadian, and that's a lot of money. I was able to justify spending it because having seen the ship in game, I knew this kind of cruiser hunter, getting close fight style of the Battleship would really fit my playstyle, and I would just have an enjoyable time with it. So it wasn't too big of a decision for me, and I've been waiting for it and knew about what it would cost, so I've been ready for that. But if it's something you're looking for, like, you know, is this the right premium ship for me? Yeah, maybe, maybe not. It's only a couple dollars more than Atlanta, which really, you know, if you're considering the Atlanta, I would probably consider switching to this because it seems to do a lot better in its stock setup without, you know, some amazing 15-20 skill captain, whereas I find the Atlanta you really need that skilled captain to get the most of the ship. But I'm going to continue talking to that point in some actual gameplay. So here we are on Estuary in a standard battle, and you can see I lucked out. Top tier, which I've been about 50-50. I've played in a tier 9 game and it wasn't too bad. You definitely stand off more, but any premium ship or tank really does its best when it is big boy on the table, you know, king of the hill, getting to beat everyone else around. So that's what this game's going to show you, and this is by far the best game I've had. I was playing alongside Savea, who brought his Mitsuki. He was just trying to grind out the last bit and is never shy to be dragged into a couple tier higher game in his Japanese destroyers. So right off the bat, my thinking on this game was I'm actually going to hold up. I used to regularly get myself into trouble by just going full speed ahead right when the game started, racing out ahead of all my cruisers, all my destroyers, getting spotted early and dying. And in the last few thousand games, I've kind of calmed down more. I still play aggressively, because that's just how I have the most fun in this game. But I make sure I'm going to have team around to support me. And with the good range of these guns and that spotting plane, I want to be ready to shoot anything that gets spotted down in their cap. So Savea's going to push up and off in this direction and try to get me some spots, and I'm going to try to get some damage with no risk of return fire. And it's kind of funny to think that this ship at 3/4 speed would be outrunning a Colorado. Like, that really puts into scale how fast she is, but also how slow the Colorado is. And if you use that speed and maneuverability right, this is a scalpel to absolutely rip apart enemy teams. And you can see in chat right now, people are talking about the Scharnhorst, because a lot of people, this is the first time they've seen it. They didn't see in the launcher on the Wargaming page that it was for sale now, and they're looking for opinions. And a couple of the opinions are pretty well founded, I would say. Like, all in all, the Scharnhorst really isn't meant for fighting battleships, but if you drive it right, she can do it because she has the armor if her guns are lacking, and she really does fill that battlecruiser role, which I'm hoping one day Wargaming adds battlecruisers into the game, and it'll cause a bit of a jumble in a number of the tech trees, but it is a class of ship that existed and served a very specific purpose, and that's really where the Scharnhorst comes in to World of Warships for me, is it's a battlecruiser. It's got the armor to take a beating from other cruisers, and the guns to lay out some punishment. So you can see that enemy Scharnhorst was perfectly side on to me. As I fired, I got 4 hits, all penetrations, and I did about 13,000 damage to him. The remainder is just that fire that the Fuso is letting burn, giving me free damage. Now as I continue to advance forward, I can see at least one New Mexico spotted driving out. There's another one beside him, an Atlanta. There's an unaccounted for destroyer, so I'm being a little cautious here, looking around to see who is with me, making sure I'm aware of what kind of support I have so I don't overextend myself and end up in a situation I can't really get out of. I was looking for a shot on that New Mexico. Unfortunately, I saw the Ognivoy. I wasn't sure exactly where he'd been, so I turn off because I don't want to eat any torpedoes. And I instead shoot at the other New Mexico, who is broadside on, and you're going to see how these shells really perform. That's the secret to this ship. 12,000 damage to that New Mexico, he was broadside on. If there is any kind of angling on that enemy ship, you're not going to get that kind of damage. What you do have is a great rate of fire. For every 2 times another equal tier battleship will fire, you're going to get to fire 3 times. So if you time that and use it correctly, you're able to get all your guns onto target more often and really start to rack up that damage. So I put another healthy shot into that other New Mexico, and you're seeing another kind of what I think is one of the staples of the Scharnhorst gameplay is because she is so sensitive to even the slightest angling of an enemy ship's hull, you have to be selective with your targets. You can see the New Mexico, she isn't turned away that much, but 1 overpen and a ricochet. And I found myself in this ship switching targets a lot more often than I would in another battleship, where I know I can still get in through that armor with that amount of angle. I just don't feel I can with the Scharnhorst. So seeing how many ships were waiting around that corner for me, I throw myself into reverse and start backing away, ready to lay some punishment onto this Aoba. And there's where the guns misbehaved for the first time really this battle. You know, 6 shells at a cruiser 6 kilometers away and 2 hit. And that tends to happen a lot because of that relatively poor dispersion. And I think some of it's made up for by the reload time, because you can just get another volley in the air. And the odd thing, if you put the spotting plane up at maximum range, you can put your second volley into the air before the first volley even hits. It's almost a destroyer in that sense. So I'm trying to help finish off that enemy Kirov, and you can see only one of the shells hits. And I don't kill them, but the Warspike gets away. I use a heal as I continue to burn. And I'm trying to decide where I want to go. I don't want to push out into that group of ships because I'm not going to be able to effectively keep my bow pointed at all the enemies I'm going to face. And to me, that's how you drive battleships like this, where their guns are mostly up front. You want to stay nose on, and battleships in general, really. You're gonna do much better than if you're angled or giving the broadside. So I've been trying to decide where to go. I see the Atlanta, and I decide, yep, he's my target. So I look around, make sure no one's really looking at me, and then I proceed to turn in to hunt down this Atlanta. Put a volley in, get a massive citadel, finishing them off. They gave me their broadside, and that's where the Scharnhorst does the damage. Any kind of cruiser gives you a broadside, you're just going to start ripping into them. A lot like the Königsberg, I find. You have, for your tier, well, the Nürnberg for her tier, like smaller guns, but high velocity, great penetration, particularly when they give you their sides. And that's how the Scharnhorst plays, and it's a lot of the reason I knew I would enjoy this ship. So next up is an Ognavoy. Now, Russian destroyer, 4-kilometer torpedoes. They are very fast and very hard to dodge. I make sure I have HE loaded as I'm going around the corner at him, but I am going to go around the corner at him. I have no intention of kind of letting him drive away or do his own thing. I use another one of my repair parties to push myself back up into about 90% health, and I'm ready on my WASD keys. The Aoba gets spotted, and then the Ognavoy. Volley 1, no hits. Other 2 turrets, get a good hit into her. I put the torpedoes so she can't turn in, and I put my rudder hard over, engine full astern, and just look at that turn. The Ognavoy misses every single torpedo from 3 kilometers out on a battleship. Now, it's either embarrassing for them or just a sign of how good the Scharnhorst's maneuverability is, and to me that's what it was. I kick the engines back into full speed, and I'm rapidly getting back up. I'm already going faster than the current tier 7 battleships, and I finish off the Ognavoy. My secondaries are the ones that get her, and next is the Aoba. I've got AP loading, I turn into the Fuso's shells, all of them bouncing off, and at this point this Aoba was pretty screwed. You can see my secondaries starting to fire because she's inside 6 kilometers. Put the first volley out, and notice her angle. 4 over penetrations, a ricochet. She's fair. In any other battleship, if they were that flat on, that would hands down destroy them. But with the Scharnhorst, you're getting ricochets. So with the next one, I catch her in the turn and put 2 citadels in, quickly eating up the remaining 10,000 health. And now it's me versus a Fuso. I do have another friendly battleship behind me, but my goal is to close inside that 6-kilometer range, put my torps in the water, and let them do some of the work. I fire at the Fuso, both shells ricochet, and she continues to turn and give me a flatter side, so I'm gonna stick to AP. So Fuso flat on, broadside, 8200, and if you can keep things, once again I feel like I'm repeating myself, but if you can keep things flat side onto you, you're gonna get great damage out of these. It's the second they start turning away. And here you're gonna see it. She's basically end on. I fire anyways, aiming for the superstructure, hoping for a penetrating shot on some of her superstructure. 2 shells hit, 2 miss, and I'm switching to HE. And with the Scharnhorst, HE is a very reasonable tactic. You reload every 20 seconds, so you can really put a number of shells onto target, and they do reasonable damage. You can see 4 shells hit, I got about 3,000 damage, lit a fire, and I continue to close. With them running away, I'm not about to turn broadside on and put torpedoes in until I'm really inside about 2.5 kilometers. And even then, this torpedo drop is going to be more about trying to force them to maneuver. You know, it's not hard to dodge torpedoes shot straight astern of you, but I want to try to force that Fuso to turn broadside on to me or my friendly battleship, as I continue to just work HE into her superstructure, lighting another 2 fires. And just look at that damage from all those fires burning, just keep ticking up, 500 or so a second. And it's a reason I actually love fires, is it feeds you damage if the person can't put you out. And it looks like they've got 3 going on them, so one is probably that other friendly cruiser. So I light a 4th fire on them, get my high caliber and arsonist, and at this point there's just an enemy Scharnhorst left, and I'm turning around because I want to try to get a Kraken. Unfortunately, this is pretty much where my game ends. Savea, who hasn't had a chance to do much, is setting up a stealth ambush on the enemy Scharnhorst because he wants some damage and a kill too. So as we watch the end of this game and just look at the beautiful German battleship, what are my overall impressions? I really enjoy it. 141,000 damage this game, and while this is probably the best game I've had in her, it is by far kind of my standard experience, and the other Scharnhorst captain in this game tended to agree with me. If you're a skilled player and know how to use those guns and when to switch between the AP and the HE, you can have very successful games and ultimately get that experience and money that people buy premiums for. And there we have it. Victory, 457,000 credits, 6,000 experience, close quarters, Confederate, arsonist, and high caliber. Did 141,000 damage with 98 shells, 4 kills, 3 citadels. I think that game really demonstrated the situations this ship does well in, and some of the ones it doesn't. Like chasing the Fuso at the end, it just wasn't a situation where I would do damage, so I switched to HE and burnt her down the slow way. No surprise, top team, 2,000 damage, with our other Scharnhorst coming in right behind me. And you can see with those cruisers, like the Aoba, pretty much a couple volleys and got a Citadel kill. Same with the Atlanta. The Ognavoy really underestimated how maneuverable this ship is. And then their battleships, I managed to kind of, throw some damage in, a mix of AP and HE when they were giving me their broadsides. And the ultimate reason anyone might buy a premium would be either you're a ship collector and you really want that one, maybe the ship holds something special to you, but it's about making money and experience. So just shy of 400,000 after replenishing my consumables, which is a good chunk of money, and 6,000 experience, and that wasn't a win of the day. So that, you can see my modifiers. I guess you get a good chunk from it being a premium ship. Some of those Olympic themed missions definitely helped me as well. So all in all, 6,000 experience toward a commander who I can't wait to put in the rest of the German line. So my overall opinion of the Scharnhorst is I like it. To me, it was worth it. I'm a collector of ships, and it just fills out my harbor, gives me another commander, and I love the knife fighting, brawly nature, hunting down the cruisers that this ship play has. It is expensive at $40 to $60 US to Canadian, and it does require a high skill threshold, I think, to really get the most of it. If you're looking for a battleship to really grind credits in, I personally would recommend the Tirpitz over this, or something like the Otago as a cruiser. They play more like their class than the Scharnhorst does, which has a unique playstyle and requires a little bit more advanced player skills to really maximize her abilities. I hope this video was informative to you. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give me a thumbs down. I would love a subscription, it helps me out. And as always, I'm Quicksilver Slash, and I'll have another video for you guys tomorrow.